Hey guys, so welcome to this evening's live stream. This one will be archived under the playlist Biblical Archaeology. I think that, I think that it fits well. Now, it's up to you guys to look at some of the. It fits well. Now, sorry. It's up to you guys to. So these are articles that popped up, and I haven't even read them. I just kind of saw the titles, so we're gonna, dig into some of the articles that I found on the feeds, Google. Uh, like I'm telling you, I wasn't really looking for that, but obviously there's that algorithm that the more you research something, the more it gives you feedback about things in relation. Hey, Darla. Um, so we're going to look at some proof that can be added to your search about the literal and actual, it's not a mythology, right? A lot of people like to say that there's zero evidence for the flood. I do not agree with that. Um, if you look at the nutritional science and stuff like that, if you followed some of my nutrition videos or my channel that was Fast Keto Prime early on, as I dug into the ketogenic diet, for example, I saw all of the information that's not being acknowledged. Good science that's not being acknowledged because it doesn't fit the narrative and it doesn't benefit the powers, the good health, the good grown-ups, right, and their little agendas and stuff like that. And I've seen corruption, through all of these man-made systems, especially the Scientific Institute. We can look at Jordan Peterson with the social science. He says that it's absolute manure, how it has fallen from grace and stuff like that. So things, for example, like nothing creating everything, and that to me is ludicrous. Yet that's in a way what the scientific community holds. The scientific community can't explain biogenesis, the start of life from inorganic matter, for example. At best, Darwinian evolution, which I think is a deck of cards. That Darwinian evolution doesn't explain the origin of life. It just says once a life system has appeared, how it branches out. And we can look at the concept of irreducible complexity, for example. This is Dr. Behe, and what he says is, that complex body systems, you can't reduce them. You can only reduce them to a certain extent where the whole thing becomes non-functional. And when they want to say that we come from, for example, just a very simple molecular soup, for example, it doesn't explain the digital, in a way, or the genetic coding, the information found in DNA. How does inorganic matter first spring into life? And then how do all these complex body systems, through unguided processes over billions of years, how does it create multiple variations? Like a look at, um, a bacteria, but then you look at the aquatic realm, then you look at the amphibians, then you look at the land animals. All of these things, seem to, if you keep on reducing them to simplicity as much as you can, they all break down. They don't function. Behe uses the example for irreducible complexity. It's a term that he created, but he's talking about a mousetrap, just a piece of wood with a spring and a clamp that shuts down. Um, you need all three of those aspects to be built together. You could take a plank, let's say. This is an analogy of how things go more and more complex through mutations. As long as you put enough time, these mutations create finely tuned systems. And we look at the thousands and perhaps millions of body systems if we go to the microorganism realm. And let's say you start with a board. Okay, so you need a board, you need a spring, and you need a snapping, something like a crowbar. You know, you need the thing that actually kills the mouse or the rat. And if you look at that, you can say, well, maybe it started with a board. And then maybe we could take a spring from a grandfather clock. And then we could go get a hammer out in our shed and stuff like that. Even if you have all three aspects over billions of years that are still kind of available, they're not fine tuned to function. Not any spring can work. And, you know, so you cannot, once you try and reduce systems, they completely do not function. So science says that people who believe in creation are stupid, are silly, right? But they're the ones saying that nothing created everything. Okay, it makes much more sense that something created everything. Then after they have no answer for biogenesis. Next, you know, you'll say, okay, well, the cardiovascular system or the cardiopulmonary system, you need a pump, okay? You need a diffusion, the lung, a diffusion mechanism, right? And then you need the blood that is pumped that's going to go through the diffusion mechanism. So the cardiopulmonary vascular system, which is an insanely complex unit, must come into existence at the same time. Okay, there's no purpose for the blood to be for blood itself if there's no pump and there's no diffusion mechanism. Okay, so what's the point of pumping a fluid if there's no diffusion mechanism? And if you look at the complexity of the lung, okay, and then after you look at the complexity of the heart, think of this heart. You know, uh, the amount of beats per minute, the valve mechanisms and stuff like that. If those valves within the heart had not been developed, there would be no ability to push that fluid. You look at the complexity of blood itself, and you realize that the cardiopulmonary vascular system, it cannot be reduced because then it ceases to function. And we're talking about respiration here. We're talking about cellular respiration. As we dive into all of, you know, science, it actually is proving an intelligent designer, is proving that all of these body systems actually sprung into existence in a very rapid method. Now, I'll acknowledge that I'm coming in a way, at least from the scientific debate side, that I am coming from a place of ignorance. I haven't studied any of this at a university level. But just like we saw during the pandemic, they talked a lot about the experts. However, there were experts, and I think the majority of experts were not given a platform, were not allowed to give their expert opinion. So you can understand my that, you know, my distrust, okay, when I see these patterns of deception and corruptions occurring from nutritional science right up to any field of science at this point. So, you know, the social science and the historical science as well. So it's not that it's that the experts in their own field, okay, like James Tour or Jim Tour, he talks about origins of life, the smoke and mirrors that are being published in peer-reviewed journals, and he's completely, you know, blowing the whistle and saying, "You guys are giving the appearance that you are able to create cells there, you are able to create life," and he's saying that this is not true. So what happens is perhaps the peer-reviewed journals are not as deceptive as the articles and the things that are published that we view, that we just take for granted, faith and trust that, oh wow, I read an article that they figured out how to do this. And James Tour, who is cited I think hundreds of thousands of time in his own nanotechnology field of cellular nanotechnology, building nanotech. And so he is a respected scientist, but there are tons of respected scientists that believe that there's plenty of geological evidence of the flood. There are plenty of people that are respected in their field of science, and they say that, you know what, the presuppositions, the assumptions that science are using for billions and billions of years, they are based on assumptions because they're using, let's say, radioactive decay rates, but they're assuming that the radioactive decay rates, for example, put it simply, have been constant since the start of creation. Don't. I am taking a chance the minute my wife gets home. I might stretch it for half an hour, and then I'm going to have to stop it. Okay. So, anyways, what I'm saying is we put faith in science called scientism. We, as lay people, will defend it. We'll call other people ignorant, and we haven't even done the research. I'm talking to people that are defending billions of years, that are defending just random chances over billions of years, creating the most complex machinery that we've ever seen. We can look at a watch and we could say to ourselves, yeah, there is an intelligent designer that has created the watch, and on top of it, there's a purpose for that watch. What we're saying here is if we put all the components of the watch in a box and we shook it long enough, it would build itself a watch, right? You've perhaps heard that before. Not only that, it would set itself at the right time. But when we're talking about creation, we are as well talking about not only taking all of the material and creating something, we're saying the material itself has to create itself. So this is more on biblical archaeology and not on creationism. But it's just to say that I'm just stating the fact that there are scientists that are just not being acknowledged. Now, if you go against science and things like Darwinism and stuff like that, you will cease to have a career. Okay, so science, is not as open and as unbiased as we may think. I know that because I've studied as a layman the nutritional science. Yesterday, we saw the censorship of Dr. Berg on YouTube. And we saw that when we look up ketogenic diet again, we'll see the first thing to pop up isn't the most popular or viewed. It's actually the Mayo Clinic. And I was very aggressive yesterday. It peeved me. It triggered me to see these Mayo Clinic doctors literally calling, let's say, ketones toxic. That is a scientific lie. And when you look up a ketogenic diet, the Mayo Clinic's the first thing that's going to pop up. So sorry for me being skeptical, but it just tells me that if time, space, and matter at once did not exist, then that means that whatever the singularity is that created the fabric of time is outside of time. We could say eternal. If at one point all of the elements on the periodic table, matter itself, at one point exploded into existence, it makes sense that that source, that singularity, not calling it God, but that singularity is non-material. And if at one point the actual space in which fabric of time and all of the physical forms exist at one point was not expanding, it was not there, then that thing, okay, is beyond actually the space. It's, we could say, almost omniscient qualities. So we see that that kind of points way more logically and to a theistic perspective than an atheistic perspective. Until science can explain to me why, I can look at, this a book, any book here, and say to myself, well, you know what? Some mind, some conscious mind is writing down information. Until somebody tells me when DNA is a blueprint for the thousands and hundreds of thousands of different body system, it's a blueprint, it's an instruction manual, that's information. That tells me that I'll put a lot more faith that there's an informer that created that information than nothing creating it. We have the Bible is 6.1 million, I believe, letters. Okay, if we count each letter in the Bible, I'm pretty sure it's 6.1. And when you look at our genetic code, the nucleotides, A, G, C, and T's, all in order, okay, creating, information. This is 6.3 billions, okay? But no one would be as ludicrous as to say that this comes from, a non-mind. There's no informer that wrote any of these books. Yet we have something that is insanely more complex. And as long as we say nothing created, we can take God out of the picture. And if we put enough time, then, obviously some kind of magic can happen. To me, that makes zero sense. I had to come to somewhat of, and I'll admit it. Now, I don't consider the word faith as believing in something without evidence. If you look at the first definition in the dictionary, faith just means confidence and trust. And I would say that I have a lot more confidence and trust in this book, as well as God, a belief in God, more specifically the Christian God, that I have a lot more faith now than I did when I first decided, when I first had that faith as small as a mustard seed. And that confidence has grown over time because I have researched more and more. And I have always researched as a skeptic. And there's many skeptics that have enough intellectual curiosity and honesty that started research into this to debunk it and have become believers. Now, there's not one single evidence that can prove Christianity, but just like a court case, okay, there's certain what they would call types of evidence, and it's the preponderance of evidence. For me, it's the Shroud of Turin. For me, the Shroud of Turin that cannot be explained by science, which now scientifically has acknowledged that the carbon dating was done on a repaired area of the shroud. It has all the markings of Jesus Christ. Now, can we prove it is Jesus Christ? No, but we can prove that there's an image that seems to have been put on 1/10 of the fiber by radiation from inside the body, to the point where the teeth look like an X-ray of what a dentist would do. You can go see those. So that's a big evidence for me that this is not mythological. Then it's the way the Gospels have been written. Okay, the Gospels have been written as a testimony of things that happened. Now, there are, and I didn't know that there are, these theologian academics and stuff like that, PhDs appealing to authority and stuff like that. I thought it would just be believers that are in that field of study, but there's not. There's atheists alike. So I do go to and appeal to authority because I'm just some guy on the internet, and many of the other people that'll say Jesus is a myth are just people on the internet. I don't throw away every single expert, even though I see corruption, but I do take a theologian academic that has studied this, and that's his field, especially when they're atheists and they acknowledge that first of all, the dating of the Gospels. A lot of people like to say that it was even in the second century. Most academics say that is not true. It goes to the first century. We don't have a carbon dating, but we have a refutation of the carbon dating. And we have a lot of evidence with the Shroud of Turin that it is indeed first century. Most academics will say in the field of theology that they, as atheists, do not believe in let's say the resurrection, but that they believe that those who wrote the Gospels were thoroughly convinced, meaning that they were not trying to be deceptive. So there's a lot of evidence, and then after, I'm finding that I'm taking more and more of a literal interpretation of the Bible that I wasn't taking, especially at the start, 100%. Here's my dilemma. Okay, you hear me talking about the reason for the flood. You hear me talking about the fallen angels, these interdimensional beings that we see, all this mythology that we call in Mesopotamia and various, ancient cultures and stuff like that. I believe again that they are interdimensional beings. They were seen as demigods. In fact, they were alien human hybrids. Now, when I do this, am I talking about a narrative that I don't believe? Of course not. So if I truly believe that Jesus Christ is here, okay, that he came 2,000 years ago and that he was the Messiah and that he accomplished 300 messianic prophecies for our salvation from sin, from some rebellion that occurred a long time ago, I have to take, a stance, and I was shy to take that stance prior because I'd be like, "Oh, people are going to think I'm stupid." And I could care less at this point. But if I don't take a literal approach to this, then my whole faith, and perhaps many Christians that want to adopt Darwinian evolution and still be Christian, if you're doing that, then you are making it into a mythology, your religion, because it means that death entered and not only entered creation, but actually created all of the various life forms. If we take Darwinian evolution, the death entered creation prior to the sin. That means that if you believe in Darwinian evolution, okay, even if you say, I believe that it appears unguided, but it's guided. Yeah, I know, but everything about salvation that Jesus took quite literally in the Gospels, death entered way before. Death is a natural process, unguided if it's scientific, or like many Christians say, no, it is guided, and I believe in God and I believe in the Bible. But death, you have to say then that death entered. And if we say that death is the result of sin, and that's why Jesus came here, I just ask my Christian brothers and sisters, my friends here, if you are adopting a Christian worldview, how can you really justify it? The minute that Christians try and step back from the literal interpretation and the historical fact of the truth, and especially the Old Testament, and they leave billions of years open to the atheist, then you have people like Christopher Hitchens that are going to say, well, you know what, your God's a monster. Your God has allowed 200 million years of humans being here on Earth, of suffering, of dying from a tooth decay, of the immense suffering of the human evolution, for some man in the Middle East to come 200 million years after man has been created, and they're able to make our faith sound ludicrous. I rather sound ludicrous by taking the Bible, which is proving itself more and more to me to be true. I rather be ludicrous in people's eyes that way than to allow atheists, because I'm not comfortable with the complete truth of the Bible. Then I look ludicrous, because in fact, if I don't take the literal stance, I open the Word of God up for doubt and as well ridicule. And in fact, this is something that I've just come towards. So what I am saying is that, what, I am stupid because I don't have that university training in evolution and things like that. But I do listen to people who do have PhDs, and they make valid arguments, and they have studied the opponent, and they are saying that many of their claims are just illusions. They are coming confidently, making claims of, certainty. And I know that all of science is constantly open to being refuted and to evolve. But that's the idea. That's the perfect idea of science. That is not how it works in the universities. So let's get into this article. And again, I found this article. It's up to you guys. I'm going to present it. I find it interesting. It's up to you guys to go verify if this is just, no, that's not even true. Somebody made a false article, but I do find it interesting. And again, Christianity is given. It's not proven, but Christianity is fact-based. There is enough evidence when you take the totality of it to say there's a good reason to believe. Before I go to the article, okay, again, let's go back, okay? Science cannot explain the image on the shroud, okay? That's one. Science can't explain the origin of life. Science is saying that our great 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 grandfather is, Campbell's primordial soup. Science is pretty much saying that nothing created everything. All right. So, you know, I think that those are some bold claims. I think that science is amazing when it can study what is here now and they can reproduce. And I'll say that the more that the physical sciences are looking with better and better technologies, deeper and deeper into reality, I think that it's actually proving through its complexity that there is more evidence to believe than less evidence to believe. All right. So, explain to me the genetic code. Explain to me, and I've done previous ones where we look at the pulmonary tree. It's called. I've talked to also go look up at animations on YouTube about the bacterium flagellum. Okay, this is a beautiful one. Okay, obviously this is animated, um, but here we have the bronchial tree. It is appears to be, a perfect upside down tree, and this is part of that complex, cardiopulmonary vascular system that can't be reduced. The minute you try and reduce those three systems, the cell will not be able to breathe, and we could not have a living cell. Now, we inhale oxygen, and after we exhale CO2, and every tree out there sucks in CO2 and gives oxygen. It says that God's invisible, qualities and proof that there's an intelligent designer is seen by what is created. And I can go quickly. Sorry, here's that tree that I just showed you guys. Okay, it's beautiful. I don't know how. Forget about the DNA. It makes absolutely no sense that 6.1 billion letters that give blueprints, that give information, has not come from at least a intelligent designer, a theistic God. How about this? Okay, look at this. It's a perfect pattern of a tree. It exists in many animals, not just humans. I have another question, and this is what I'm saying. It's the preponderance of it's when you take more and more of these puzzles and question that logically and rationally it just makes more sense that it comes. Here's an example, right? An atheist can be a moral person. It's just that an atheist doesn't have a philosophical grounds for explaining morality. This is what I'm trying to say here. If nothing created everything, if atheists say that we have to find our own meaning in life, then there's no ultimate meaning, right, of life, because it's just a explosion by blind processes that we're just lucky that we got here. I'm going to not even talk about the fine tuning of the universe that's acknowledged by physics and stuff like that. But when we had biogenesis, and Darwin assumes that it's very primitive, simple cell, even though there's no simple cell, they're all a microcosm of machinery and nanotech, nano-sized machinery. When, let's say, viruses and bacteria invade a human body, is that bacteria and virus, is it being morally good or bad, right? Is it good or evil? I would say that there's no good and evil when we look at those living organisms. They're just doing what bacteria and viruses do. When we look at, through evolution, let's say, the simple body systems, the living organisms that they say started branching out like a tree, right? How about the most simple, the fish? How about the fish? When there's a surfer, in Florida that gets their leg chomped by a shark, is that shark being morally evil or good? There's no moral agency, at least in my opinion. It's just animals doing what animals do. And all of a sudden, we get to the human realm, the human kingdom, right? Okay. Science will say, atheists, we're just animals. We're just we're very complex. Our brain is developed with higher levels of consciousness and things like that. But we're no special. We're just the last product of a blind process, right? That seems to be making things more and more complex. Now, why do we have moral agency? I think that everybody has a moral compass, at least at the start. They can sear it through, sin, in my opinion, to the point where it's broken. But an atheist can be a great citizen here, can make differentiations between good and evil. But when we ask them philosophically, well, is there objective morality? Is there objectively good and evil? Or is everything just really relative to the situation? They'll say it's relative to the situation. So they'll make and turn around and say that, let's say, the Christian God, or the Old Testament God more specifically, is evil, right? How can they make that statement if nothing created everything, if we are just the last creation or the last manifestation of evolution in its complexity? How can they say it's good or evil? It's like you don't have any philosophical grounds because there's no objective good and evil. Christians and many theists as well but I'll concentrate on my faith. Um, uh, Christianity states that there is a moral lawgiver. The Judeo-Christian, which is the same God, we have that moral law, and that moral law states that it is objectively always wrong to break those 10 commandments, right? So I'm asking non-believers, especially materialists and naturalists, why are you going to hold me to a standard of morality if my great 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 grandfather was a can of Campbell's primordial soup, if it was from the zoo to you, and stuff like that? So these are questions that I think that science and atheism and naturalistic perspectives do not have. So I'm gonna, so this is why I'm looking at Noah's Ark as being a lot more literal. It seems like the majority of the fossil record happened because, organic matter was buried very rapidly. And that's why we don't have fossils now. When animals die, when organic matters die, they're on the surface, they're exposed to oxygen, oxidation, they're exposed to other animals eating it up. But we have a fossil record, and it's primarily sea creatures, okay? And that would make sense because in the Noah's Ark Bible verses, it explains that, we often think about the rain, but it explains that the fountains of the deep burst open. There was a tremendous amount of subterranean water that was present before the flood, and the fountains of the deep. And what happened was this flooding created mega sequences and tsunamis, and then it would bury in layers. That's why the layers of strata seem to be not completely, but very, very uniform all across the world. And they say that it's done in stages over billions of years. But it's a circular reasoning. Again, they're taking fossils, they take decay rates, and after they say this is dated to that, and then they look at the layers and they say, well, that fossil's there, so it's dated to that. We have T-Rex bones that still have flexible tissue, yet that's 200 million years ago, supposedly. So I say that I am taking a lot of things by blind faith in that respect, but I am starting with presuppositions, and other people, other Christians that believe like me, are also, but so are the scientists. Okay, so Armstrong Institute for Biblical Archaeology, finding evidence of Noah's Ark. Now, I'm streaming, okay? Here, okay, is a weird archaeological find, and please look into this. I might be wrong because all I'm doing is I'm basing it on, oh, I read this and I'm going to share it. So, in a single Chinese word, sometimes the problem with looking for something is that we can't see the forest from the trees. Many consider it a myth. Among those who do not, numerous expeditions have been sent out to the mountains of Turkey to look for it. Yet direct physical evidence of Noah Ark remains elusive. There have been several claims of potential discoveries at several different sites, but these remain highly controversial. Okay. Perhaps that's unsurprising for any wooden object from around 4,500 years ago, but the mountains of Turkey aren't the only place where evidence of Noah's colossal ark can be sought. Indeed, it may be found in the tiniest of objects, such as a single Chinese word. Now, I've shown before that flood stories, okay, are through many, many, many cultures, okay? Many cultures that were never in communication with each other over millennia have flood stories. And again, that is a little bit of something that you can add to the preponderance of the evidence. Doesn't prove in and of itself, but we got to keep on putting all of these little tidbits together and then look and say what's more likely. And even what's more likely can still be proven to be wrong, but it does give a valid reason to believe. The character-based Chinese language goes back at least as far as 1250 BC, as recorded on bones and bronze artifacts. The squares Chinese characters can become quite complex, made of several radical, simple individual words with individual meanings, packed together to create a new word or character. One such example is the Chinese word for ship or large boat. This word is made up of 3 parts. It's an 8-person boat. It's a remarkable parallel to the biblical story of the great ark that housed 8 persons. Perhaps, like me, your first thought is wondering if it's simply a result from the influence of missionaries or some such over the last centuries. It's not. This word has been found dating to at least as early as 700 BC. Then perhaps it's just a coincidence that the ancient Chinese word for ship is um, pistache, of words paralleling the story of the legendary ship Noah's Ark. If so, then the following Chinese story, traceable as far back as 3,000 years, has to likewise be a coincidence. To summarize, one, there was a colossal flood that was so great it covered the mountains, killing all mankind and land dwelling animals, save for a heroic individual named Noah, who built an ark that housed 8 worshippers. When the flood waters finally receded, the ark landed on a mountain, and the 8 individuals on board proceeded to repopulate the earth. Again, this is not a biblical accounting. This is an ancient Chinese account of a catastrophic event sometime in ancient history, one which can help explain the origin of the Chinese word for ship. As Qiu Shinvu, Rich Shili, blah, 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 writer in this research paper, Noah's Ark hidden in ancient Chinese characters. The ancient book of documents, okay, Xiu Jin, written around 1000 BC, describes a gigantic flood so huge that it rose to heaven and drowned all the mountains and living things. The original ancient Chinese texts were destroyed by various emperors over time when they felt threatened by them, most notably the Emperor Qixing Hong in 2000 BC. Hence, most ancient history and legends are compilations of people's recollection by historians such as Confucius. In the story of the flood recorded in Xiu Jing is authentic if we reason that analysis of ancient Chinese characters, which can be traced back to around 2500 BC, ought to reveal such a story. I'm going to run upstairs because I might stretch this for another half hour, and then I'm going to have to stop because my wife is coming home. I don't want to be streaming the whole time, but she's close so that I can concentrate. I'm going to go upstairs. Hey, Josiah, do you mind putting the piano stool back? Yeah. Tell Michelle that I'll be half an hour, 45 minutes max. Oh yeah, passing out water and sore throats starting. Maybe that's why. Yeah, maybe that's why I've been feeling crummy.
Honestly, next time I go to the doctor, you get my throat checked. 'Cause I've been having a problem.
Yeah. Do. Yeah, because this stream was actually a last minute one. I didn't even do the Daily Bread online. Okay. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it's more kind of just to show you, hey, check what I found. Go read the article yourself and, ponder it. So there's no need to, especially if I'm getting a sore throat. While the differences between the accounts are not always trivial, the common essence of the stories is instructive as compiled below. Is there a favored family? I think that they're talking about other cultures now. Let me see. But coincidences with ancient Chinese history are only the tip of the iceberg because similar stories can be found literally all over the globe among scattered cultures and civilizations. Celtic, or Celtic, African, Pacific flood myths, ancient American flood myths, Nordic deluge myths. Such stories include a central Greek flood accounting dating at least to the first millennium, Babylon, Samaria, the Epic of Gilgamesh, fragments from that, of course, the Bible flood. So, in his article, Why Does Nearly Every Culture Have a Traditional Flood, a Global Flood, by John Morris, PhD, describes his collection and an analysis of over 200 accounts around the world. And here's the percentages: 88% favored family. I'll let you read out the percentage. So they don't always have, the complete amount. Let's jump to the next evidence, or the next little tidbit you can add to have, more and more all of the interesting facts that you can triage through yourself and decide whether it's valid or not. In the Live Sciences, it says huge ocean discovered inside the Earth. Okay, inside Earth. Now, I think that this article is somewhat valid, or is, worth pondering, because the Bible, if you actually read the flood story, the majority of the water comes from the fountains of the deep breaking open. So now science is discovering that there's huge oceans still remaining, okay, that are discovered inside the Earth. So scientists probing the Earth's interior have found a large reservoir of water equal to the volume of the Arctic Ocean beneath Eastern Asia. The left figure is a slice throughout the Earth taken from the figure on the right, showing the attenuation anomalies within the mantle at a depth of roughly 620 miles. In both images, red shown usually soft and weak rock believed to be saturated with water, and blue shows unusually stiff rock. Scientists scanning the deep interior of the Earth have found evidence of a vast water reservoir beneath Eastern Asia that is at least the volume of the Arctic Ocean. This discovery marks the first time such a large body of water has found in the planet's mantle. So again, this is something that you can go read the article. The Smithsonian, I always have trouble. The Smithsonian. Is there an ocean below your feet? Some scientists think Earth's oceans formed when icy comets hit the planet. But new research suggests a different origin for the oceans. They simply seeped out of the center of the Earth. The findings published in Science suggest that a reservoir of water is hidden in the Earth's mantle more than 400 miles below the surface. Try to refrain from imagining expanses of underground seas. All this water, 3 times the volume of the water on the surface, is trapped inside a rock. So it's not in a aqueous, fluidic form. I read another one that it's in a crystal somewhat structure, but it's still very interesting. That's what it is here. It's called Ringwoodtie. Ringwoody. Okay, so Ringwoodtie. This rock is bright blue and is only formed at high temperature and pressure in Earth's mantle. The water would have been squeezed out of the rocks almost as if they're sweating. Stephen Jacobson from the university told. The research adds to our understanding of the complexity of the water's transport throughout the sky, across oceans, and inside the ground. The water cycle involves more than just the water that circulates between the atmosphere, ocean, and surface water. It extends deep into the Earth's interior as the oceanic crust subducts or slides under adjoining plates. So again, I encourage you guys to go see this article as well. To me, these are relevant to the question of a global flood. Over here, a reservoir of water, and this is from New Scientist. I wasn't able to get it because it kept on making me a subscriber login, but let me screen share. I hope I was screen sharing the other one. Well, oh well. Over here, a reservoir of water, 3 times the volume of all the oceans, has been discovered deep beneath the Earth's surface. The water is hidden inside a blue rock called ringwoodite. So, but it's a reservoir that's 3 times that of the oceans above. Okay, so if it wasn't in that form, yeah, that's a lot of water. And when we look at, what is it called again? One second. You know, when we look at the fractures and the mid-oceanic ridges, we see that there are rips, right, all across the world. You could imagine here, for example, that as it cracked, okay, you know, the fountains of the deep started ripping open quite rapidly all across the world, that the water would explode out of here, that water would gush here, and you could see how they fit together. Now, you know, I'm just saying that, you know, this kind of does look like, why are the continents the way they are? Not making a direct claim, but it seems to me if these are the fountains of the deep that ripped open, sorry, over here, right here, these rips, that it would push on each side. And we do see, if you look at where the majority of mountains are, so you could imagine an explosion and water going this way and causing you know, these huge warps. And we look underwater how deep some of these ridges can go, you know, and you could look at where the mountains are, and then you can look at the mountains where there's seashells and clams. You could look at the deserts, you know, in the Middle East that have fossils of whales and stuff like that. It would make sense that the first things to be buried in mud with these, you know, mega sequences would be the majority of the sea life and things like that. Again, doesn't mean I'm right, doesn't mean this is proof, but it's again reasons to add to things to ponder. Sorry, I'm not even sure. Did it share twice? I'm not sure if it's like not allowing me to share. Okay, I'll do it one more time and look at the screen. So over here, you see all of these fault lines in a way. Okay, so I think that there was a lot of water under the world early on, and I think that they burst open. And I think that it covered the whole earth. And that's why we have so much what they would call fossil fuel. I think that it wasn't just the animals, right? These, I use my imagination and from what I read in the pre-Diluvian world, lush Garden of Eden, like just huge trees, and all of this vegetation and things like that being buried and oil being created. They were still pumping it out from the pre-Diluvian world, and I think that it changed drastically the geography as well as the atmosphere. These huge brontosaurus and stuff like that. They the percentage of oxygen, or at least the partial pressure of oxygen, must have been a lot higher for them to be able to oxygenate themselves. If they were in our atmosphere, they would gasp for breath and they would die. So this is why I'm coming to my worldview gradually, and I figure that I have to start taking things literally because the Bible's proving itself more and more to me. Here it says in Ecclesiastes, what has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. And I believe that there were literally fallen angels. I believe that there were alien human hybrids. I believe that the minute that these angels started playing with the DNA, okay, which is a information and blueprint, manual written by God, that God doesn't allow that to happen for too long. So we see that we're playing with DNA. We're splicing animal DNA with humans because we want to grow organs so that we can grow organs and use those as transplants, all in the name, of science and stuff like that. But, we're doing gain of function research on dangerous viruses and bacteria, or making them dangerous. And so we're playing with that. We have CRISPR technology. And I think that Ecclesiastes is to be taken literally. There's nothing new under the sun. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. And it says that Noah's flood, and again, the New Testament authors took it as literal, said that that was an example for us in the end times to look at what happened at the flood. And this is an example for us now. And when they asked Jesus, what will be what will be the coming of the Son of Man? What will be the end of the age? And Jesus says that as in the days of Noah, so will it be at the coming of the Son of Man. And I believe that he was talking not only of the wickedness and the ungodliness that they mention, but I'm talking about genetic manipulation. Okay. We start playing with the genetics of human beings. I believe that it's not complete. It's not only that, but a part of us being made in the image of God is obviously the blueprint, obviously the information that is written in our DNA sequences. And we can look at things like biophoton emissions from DNA. There's something spiritual about it, in my opinion. Biophoton emissions, new evidence for coherence and DNA as a source. The phenomenon of ultra-weak biophoton emission from living systems was further investigated in order to elucidate the physical properties of this radiation and its possible source. We obtain evidence that the light has a high degree of coherence because, one, its photon counts of its photon count statistics, its spectral distribution, and its decay behavior after exposure to light illumination, and its transparency through optically thick material. Moreover, DNA is apparently at least an important source since conformational changes induced blah blah blah. Going in, DNA emits light. Then after we can get to the, I hope I was showing that. This is the one I just read. Then after we can look at the Shroud of Turin images. Go see, I've done extensive live streams on it, at least 2 of them. Here's the images of a scourged man. This is a shroud. The shroud, there's an image here of the front, but there's a front and back. The white aspects are the wounds and the blood that is stained, that has stained the shroud. It has, science does not know how it has been put there. It is not a painting. It is not a hoax, because if it was, then let science make it again. So sorry about that. Here you go. So over 370 wounds of a man on a burial shroud, okay, that has all the markings of this Jesus guy in the Gospels. All of these, this white here under closer, you can see that these are flog marks. We can see the wounds of the wrist. We can see the wounds on the head. We can see the wounds at the ankle, all appearing as white. I can show you. From my channel. All right. This one's under video. You can go to my playlist, as I have mentioned. Here's all of my daily breads. We've already gotten through Matthew, Acts, Romans, Gospel of John. I've done 2 videos on Revelation, only gotten through chapter 1. 2 on biblical archaeology, primarily Sodom. They're really convinced there's sulfur balls inside a mountains of ash that have the shape of a city. 1 John, the Epistle of Jude, that goes beyond just reading and goes into the first book of Enoch, goes into conditional immortality. We finished Hebrews. Here's a prophecy of Daniel. So this is, if we go under live streams and you want to look into it a little bit more extensively, we talk about the fallen angels, aliens, elongated skulls, Nephilim here. I have multiple ones discussing that. Here talking a bit with Kurt about that. A bit of here, origin of life, elongated skulls. Again, a little bit here. So it's a little bit everywhere, but there is the Shroud of Turin that I really, I've done twice. See, this is here is a very long daily bread, but I go through the Shroud of Turin here. And there is one much earlier that here we're talking again about giants, evidence, archaeological evidence, in my opinion, that is being suppressed, but that was available, but has been suppressed by the Smithsonian. while back. Sorry. Here is the image, is the Shroud of Turin, the image of Jesus. I've also gone, if you look at my history, I've been I'm constantly watching videos and stuff like that then I share when I think that they're valid with you guys, so you can see that we're a lot. I even look at the UFO evidence as well. I've been looking up recently a lot of stuff on the honest dating of the Gospels, which I'm happy that academics like who wrote them, the dating of the Gospels. So I'm constantly binge watching on my time. Instead of just watching Netflix, I'm always learning something that I then, am able to share with you guys. So, let's see here, latest findings about Jesus, the New Testament reliability. So go see the Shroud of Turin for sure. So this is what I'm expecting is what's been done will be done again. Signs of the end time are what was happening before the flood. It has to do with angels, fallen angels, rebellion, angels interacting with humans. Nephilim are the offspring of humans and angels mating. They happen to be giants before the flood. They happened to have descendants and possibly a second rebellion of the same likeness. Angels with their spiritual bodies leaving their spiritual abode in heaven, manifesting in human form like they did all throughout the Bible, and mating with women. Creating abominations. This happened after the flood. This is the whole conquest, the Amorites, the Zanzuines, the Amalekites, all of the conquests and the nations of Israel that God is, divinely helping them defeat are all abominations. They're all tainted DNA and stuff that had to be, rid of. And God helped, do that post flood as well. Now, I think that since there's nothing new under the sun, this is going to happen again in the end times. They don't have to be giants. It's not like, oh, for them to be hybrids, they must be giants. They happen to be giants. But I think that just like the first incursion were a lot bigger, a lot stronger. They weren't, as big in the post-diluvian, and I don't think that they will necessarily be giants. I think that these aliens, UFOs, call it whatever you want, this they are finding another way of creating an army this time of Nephilim. They don't have to be giants. I think that it makes sense that they have been, programming us through programs on TV and movies that these are galactic brothers. They're always trying to take away from the glory of God. They always want to play gods and creators. So, they did that in the old, in antiquity. We see exactly what this advanced technology in the ancient times that can't be explained. It doesn't fit in with evolution or archaeology or any of that. And there's a lot of people that are under the, in my opinion, the deception that these are aliens, that, galactic brothers within the universe, okay, physically, physical forms. Maybe they're not carbon life forms, but they're not angelic, right? It's like, no, they're UFOs, they're space brothers, and I think that that's a deception. And I think that this deception is because the coming world religion will be a UFO religion. It will be the worship of fallen demonics. Demons are just fallen angels, from the word demonia. And this is a great deception because I see it already. People want to believe in the spiritual, but they don't want the accountability of a moral God that holds us morally accountable, has given us a God-given conscience. We don't want our conscience to be put under judgment, under investigation. We don't want that. What we want is supernatural experiences, paranormal possibly experiences, but we don't want them to be divine. We don't want God in the picture. We want space brothers, and even down to Dawkins calling Christianity ludicrous and theism ludicrous, but he's completely fine with aliens coming here and having seated us. It doesn't explain if they're aliens, who created them. It doesn't explain biogenesis, the origin of life itself. It doesn't explain why we should be held morally accountable. It's just a religion of aliens. And I don't, just take it from my perspective here. I love you guys. And I believe that what I'm saying is true. And I believe that people will be deceived. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Don't take offense to me criticizing perhaps your belief, because I'm doing it because I think I'm right. And I'm doing it because if I am right, it's not going to end well for those who are deceived. And the alien, this alien fascination is it. If I'm right, and if I'm right about who Jesus Christ is, and he's the only way, it's taking away from what you should be focused on. It's like there is an escape. There's an ark called Christ Jesus that's going to take you and protect you from the coming judgment. The judgment by fire coming upon the earth, hell on earth, if you go through Revelation and the seals and the bowls and everything else there, these sequences. You just read the birth pains before them. It's genocidal what's going to happen. So I do say it, whether if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Oh well, Jason was delusional, but if I'm right, it's of utmost important, and that's why I'm sharing it. I really think that these aliens, and I'll call them aliens because they're not supposed to be here in this realm. Humans are supposed to be here. These fallen angels are going to corrupt the image of God, and God won't allow that. And the end is near. People say, they've been saying, the end, the end of the age has been here. Christians have been saying that for 2,000 years. Yeah, well, you know what? The technology, the AI, the facial recognition, the digital current, all of the back in the days until very recently, the recent decades, there was no way of enslaving all of humanity. You need AI, you need digital currency, you need a great deception, you need the majority of the people to fall for it. You need a lot of stuff that we're seeing now that we didn't see when I was riding my big wheel in the 80s and 90s, and stuff like that. The world is very different. And we see China that's already just a petri experiment of what the globalists want to do to us. And we see non-religious people talking about, secret societies who, by the way, are extremely religious. they do believe in the light bearer Lucifer. So I hope this video, I've been able to, you know, spark your curiosity about a little bit more biblical archaeology that, you know, I've shown you in the Chinese lettering, as well as the vast amount of water that still remains after the fountain of the deep broke open. So let me just say hi to everyone who showed up, and I'm gonna end here, guys, after looking at the comments, because I want to spend some time with my wife and the fam. All right, so thanks, Leah. Nice to see you coming around again. Hey, LA, nice to see you. Have a cue. How do we raise children with all this lingo, etc.? They don't understand us. Well, that's why I am raising my granddaughter biblically. I didn't raise my other children biblically because I was a non-believer. I was spiritual. Yeah, they've been influenced by a lot of stuff. They're coming. They do believe in, like I always believed in God too, but it's a lot harder to all of a sudden like try and, you know, plant seeds of Christianity in teenagers, 15, 16, 17. They don't, you know, it's very, very hard. But I'm not a savior. No Christian are saviors. We are just preachers of the good news. We are to plant those seeds, and God decides, according to His will, whether they fall on good ground or not. He makes the gospel of salvation grow in the hearts of man. Once somebody has accepted Christianity, then we help water it. You know, that's what I do with the daily bread. The washing of the word, the eating daily, the inspired word for the Holy Spirit to be strong in people, in myself, as well as the people that happen to tune in. So I'm a planter like any other Christian, and I'm a waterer, but God is the grower, and God is the savior. So sometimes when fear, oh, I hope my you know, God, I hope they're found worthy to enter the kingdom of God, I just remember that's God. So I pray for their salvation and stuff like that, until I'm positive that they've been reborn. Um, Only God knows. Only God knows. You know, I could be a big hypocrite here. So only God knows the true bride of Christ, the true believers, and the true church. But what is next to come is that there is a rapture that will occur. Those Christians that have really been following Jesus's commands, that have been taking advantage of the Holy Spirit to refine themselves, okay, using the Holy Spirit to refine themselves like gold in the fire through temptation and trial and suffering, that has a purpose to refine us. We will be taken. We will go through what we call the birth pains before all hell breaks loose. We'll be taken away, okay, to be with the Lord. And then things will get really, really dark. And there will be a coming leader. And this is why all of this AI and stuff like this, and digital currency, all of these birth pains, these contractions of civil unrest and environmental issues, and degeneration of society, hatred among nations. Look at the United States. They used to be so patriotic. You can see ethos against ethos. You can see tribalism happening. I've never would have thought that the United States would have hated their own flag and spit on their own foundation. That is a sign of the end times. If Americans can turn on each other that easily, then imagine how countries soon will turn on each other. Um, there there is death, you know, by the billions that is coming in a very, very short time, but the church will be taken away. There will be 144,000 from 12 tribes that God knows who are the 12 tribes, the 12,000 from each, that will bring, and they will be the preachers of the gospel to their fellow Jews. There'll be two witnesses in the earth. And there will, even before the time of the end, there'll be, from the heavens, a voice preaching the gospel so that everyone has heard the truth of salvation, and everyone will have, you know what I mean? That's where it says the end won't come before the gospel is preached to everyone hears it. Every language, every tribe in the Amazon, everyone. The Christians are doing it through missionary, but there will be three ways that it's accomplished rapidly: 144,000, the two witnesses in Israel, and then after, just like the trumpets will be sound, and the whole world will hear it, and then they'll sound like thunders, even, and like rushing waters. People will start hearing things coming out, of the sky, trumpets and noises and hums and scary stuff that'll freak people out. But a mass genocide is coming, and Jesus only comes at the very end of 7 years. For now, what you should expect is birth pains and a lot of ungodliness. You'll see social degenerations. You'll see corruption and attack of the most innocent, the children that we're seeing now. You'll see a great apostasy, a great falling away of the church. You'll see while the church falls into worldliness and just doctrines of demons, there'll be the true Christians that are preparing themselves like the wise maidservants, and stuff like that. So they'll be taken away, and I think that's when the fallen angels appear. So it's like there's a rapture, there's a disappearance, but then there's an arrival of fallen angels as aliens. So no one's paying real attention to a massive amount of people that are no longer on Earth. They'll be censoring the communication that we're using here. So people won't even be able to see feeds where people are screaming like, there's tons of people who have been taken. We don't know where are people. People are looking for loved ones. Is this terrorist? They'll just be censoring. They'll be feeding the deception through putting us in compartments. You won't know what's happening in other countries. There'll be lies. There'll be all sorts of controlled chaos, keeping us busy, keeping us fearful, but those with the timetable, with the Bible, I'm not, I'm not fearful. I know what is to come. I know a temple has to be built. I know likely that, the Middle East and Turkey, as well as Russia, as well as the kings of the East, China, it's been prophesied. People are always all asking, well, what about the United States in the Bible? They're not there. Okay. The superpower is not going to be the United States. Why do you think all of this is happening in the United States? The United States has to be broken, okay, for the New World Order, which is not a Western power. It is the kings of the North and of the East, as it says. There will be increasing anti-Semitism. We're seeing all of this. So the Christian that's biblical is just like going check mark, check mark. And people are saying, oh, we're going to wake up. People are going to wake up. Yeah. Okay. Well, people are going to wake up, but do you think that the majority of people are peaceful when they're going to rebel? They don't have to even shoot us. They can just use frequencies, and we would be on the ground, like jumping around like bacon in pain. They have the technology, they have the data, they have the surveillance, they have the intelligence, and it's like people are like, oh, you Christians just sitting back saying like, you can't. Well, unfortunately, yeah, like the prophecy says, you guys will not win against this beast system. The only salvation is through Christ. Jesus' second coming, he's the one that defeats this. We are in for a Holocaust that is sevenfold. And the Holocaust doesn't happen until the man of sin arrives, the Antichrist. And that's not even tribulation. There's going to be enough chaos, fear, and famines and earthquakes, disasters, and things like that. Enough peace is taken away from the earth, and that's not even the seals. That's not even Revelation yet. It's just enough for us all that are deceived to beg for a leader to just fix stuff, and he will be able to make peace. It'll appear that way, and people will accept it because they'll be so fed up of just like we were fed up of being locked up for during the pan. It's the same thing. It's like, yeah, whatever you want this so I can go to the restaurant, no problem, just give it to me. Yeah, whatever, I'll do whatever you want. I can't take it, I'm stuck in the house. And so this will be controlled chaos. And it will welcome in the man of sin, and he'll look like like a lamb. He's going to be the man with all the answers. He's going to be charismatic, and then in 3.5 years into it, he turns and all hell breaks loose. So I encourage you that if you want to not have fear, that you come to Christ and that you understand and you start studying the end time timelines so that you know what will happen, because a lot of people are not biblically literate, and they don't even realize that it's like, wow, the Euphrates River is drying up. Did you know that is in prophecy? Did you know that the Jews, Jerusalem was trampled down by Rome in 70 AD, prophesied by Jesus, and that only in 1948 did Israel become a nation again? Did you know that was a prophecy? Did you know that it says, when you see, Israel come back alive, like skeletons coming back from the dead, that when the olive tree sprouts, that generation will see the end of the age. A generation is 70 to 80 years. 1950, 2030. I'm not giving a date, but yeah, we're right at the door. And yes, there's a Bible passage that says, they've been saying that the end of the age, they've been saying that's forever now. It's like, yeah, I know. Well, Christians were saying it, but there was stuff not being fulfilled. Now everything's fulfilled. Everything is being fulfilled rapidly, and that means that Israel coming together as a nation had to occur. Keep your eyes and ears open for the temple being rebuilt. I think that the Antichrist himself will be the one that will actually allow. He'll talk to the Muslim nations, and he'll look like he's making them finally have peace together. And the Antichrist needs to set himself up in the temple. So I think that he's going to be the one that makes it happen, because in 3.5 years after, he's going to come and he's going to set himself up in there. So more prophecies videos maybe I should start doing. But first seek the kingdom of God, and all other things will be answered for you, LA, because LA had this question. My fave book is the dictionary. Leaving a like for the channel helps me. Yeah, thanks a lot, Darla. Read the New Testament first, and you'll find out who created us. I think that it's relevant. That was at 5. That was like an hour ago. I think that me talking about nothing creating everything or something creating something, and me talking LA about DNA, having code, having information, being photon creates a biological light. I think that there's a good reason to believe that something created us, not nothing. I think that you having a moral compass inside you that, in a way, knows good and evil, that what is good and what is evil. I think that, well, if we're just a bunch of animals with no God, why are we held to moral accountability? I think that there's good reasons. I think, though, that you have to, in a way, stop asking questions and start seeking. Through the New Testament, if you're open-minded about it, right? Because you're asking a lot of questions that have the answer, and it's a book. It might, yeah, maybe you'll read the whole thing and say, I think this is not true at all. But if you seem to really have, like, like, I feel, upset about what's happening. I don't know what's happening. You have all of these questions, but nobody giving you an answer. You'll never know. You need an inner testimony and confidence. And I think that if you really feel strongly, because I see the repetition of the concern for what's happening, what's next, and all these things, like read the New Testament and pray about it. Pray for the truth. It's a book. Read it. At least get that under your bucket list, and then go on to the next possibility. There's definitely good and evil, trust me. Yeah, no, exactly. But why are you saying that there's good and evil? Is a shark chomping down on someone's leg? Do you get as upset about the evil in the world when a fish eats somebody's foot off when they're surfing? No, you seem to know good and evil, and it seems to upset you very much. But why, if there's no God? Why, if we're just from evolution and stuff like that? I'm making assumptions about you. Sorry if I'm like, you're like, no, that's not what I think, Jason. But I'm just kind of like trying to interact with your comments and stuff like that. See, like, look, breaching the commandments, you have that moral compass, and it upsets you, especially because you see this in the courts, over and over, and you wonder about the people's purpose. What I'm saying is, there is a narrative in the New Testament from Genesis to Revelation, and it at least gives a story. And I think that the preponderance of the evidence, but, like, I mean, I'm crazy, okay? Like, I read for hours. I watch, sermons on these questions on Christianity, like, all the time. When I go to work, it's about, an hour drive. I have a fast brain, so I listen to things almost sometimes at 1.5 speed. So as I'm driving to work and back home, I'm getting 3 hours of Christian lectures or sermons on questions that I have that I want answered. I do a lot of research. I study like I'm studying for a PhD, basically, because I know that I've studied other things, and that I can't take that with me. And it doesn't answer the questions in my heart. What I keep on trying to point you to is, don't listen to me. It's go research, go find it, be curious about Christianity, come to your own conclusions and stuff like that. Why do we have a golden rule? Why don't fish or bacteria have a golden rule, or birds? And yeah, I'm doing my research, I'm sharing it with you. But oh yeah, good turkey, yes, pay attention to turkey. Like I said, don't mean to insult Americans, but the World Economic Forum, these globalists are doing it on purpose to topple the United States. They don't care about countries. They care about governing bodies that are non-elected. European Union's deciding, stuff for us in the West. The United Nations, look for them increasing their power. An alliance between the kings of the North, Russia, the kings of the East, China, and the Islamic world. Look for them joining forces together against, Israel, but especially against the West. The old order, which is the superpower of the United States that protects it, must be toppled. It has to be from the inside. All um, all empires end up being toppled from the inside. It's very rare that it's from an outside enemy. It topples from the own weight of its own corruption. And don't forget that the West is a Christian nation, Canada and United States, and we've turned from God. Look at what we're doing. We have turned from God, and just like the Jews, when they turned from God, he goes from blessings to curse. So the United States and Canada included are being cursed, and you can see that from the depression, from the drugs, from what we're doing to our children, the stuff being taught to our children, the stuff that we believe, how blinded as Canadian and American nation we are. We're nothing. We are. It's almost unrecognizable, the United States, I think, at this point. And it's sad. Any UFO anomalies? See, don't forget, there's the beast system that is like a political structure, and then there's the false prophet. So there'll be an aspect, I think, of aliens keeping us really busy and focused on that false religion, and all the while there's a beast system with AI, digital currency, recognition, removing our rights, and there were 1,000 Jews dying per day in that little Auschwitz. If you do the calculation in Revelation, there'll be 1,000 human beings dying every 30 seconds. There will be almost no more flesh left on the earth. What John is describing, he can't comprehend. He's talking about kind of like cities evaporating and people melting. This sounds like we're actually going to press some nuclear buttons. There's only one escape. We're not fixing it, guys. We're not going to get to a utopia. It's hell on earth. And especially when God raptures out his bride, that is the only thing restraining right now the evil. That when the church is raptured, he takes his church away, and the Holy Spirit is no longer there. It's just like, go ahead, guys, because God wants to show you. You guys want to rule yourselves. When you guys reject me as ruler, I'll allow you to have what you want. And anytime God allows people to have what they want, it ends up being hell on earth, whether it's in your personal life or now he's going to make a big point. All right, so I'm going to let you guys go now. My wife has seen orbs very close, and I believe in Bruce's research too. I believe that that's fallen angel, maybe even just good and bad angels that we're seeing manifesting from the dimension of the heaven. It seems like even the physical ones seem to be shape shifting somewhat, like it's almost trying to push from a dimension, but it's having trouble staying there, and stuff like that. I did see my wife and my son kind of a more cylindrical light that didn't look like a star, and we all kind of happened to look and go, what is that? And then all of a sudden it fanned out, like the cylinder just started going like tiny beads of light. It started moving for maybe a good 45 seconds and then disappeared. To me, I was like super like, wow, that's a sign. Bruce said it could have just been them launching a satellite or anything, but I am not denying. It says there'll be signs in the sky. Again, it's just that I am sounding the alarm because I believe that it's true. And if I'm right, then those taking the alien agenda are not like, I want people saved. I believe this with all my heart and soul. So obviously, I'm trying to preach salvation to you guys. That's my agenda. I'm trying to come and get you. But I speak with confidence on my channel. I try and be respectful and not talk in absolutes when I'm on other people's channel. Because, well, I just don't, I know I'm not saving anyone. I can only spread the seed. I do that, during every day on my channel. So I'm not going to be getting into those conversations with other people. People know what Christianity is. If they're curious, they can, contact me or say, like, hey, I want to talk to you about this. I'm interested. There are good angels, suspicious guy. Yeah. But they don't come as aliens. Exactly. They're not deceivers. I see both, and I can see AI and see crap. Yeah, AI, and not only AI, but CRISPR technology, gene editing, splicing animals with humans. It says that the dragon was given authority to give to allow the image of the beast to speak. So the Old Testament shows types, like foreshadows, like kind of like symbols of the real end time one. So in Babylon, which is a type a type of beast system, there's the golden statue of Nebuchadnezzar. That's a type of image, and Nebuchadnezzar is a type of example of an antichrist to come. And there is an image of the beast, and that's AI. I really think it's AI. I think that AI is demonic because the worldview that is put into the AI is going to be pretty much anti-God. The AI will start from the premise, that of Bill Gates, of these occultic practices. We see the occult popping everywhere. We see CERN has Shiva. That opening ceremony was demonic. We see secret societies that believe me, they know that it's not aliens. They know who they're speaking to, but the masses, I see them opening up their chakras. I think it's very dangerous to try and communicate with these lights and orbs and stuff like that. I think that humans are not genetically engineered, that's for sure, by fallen angels or aliens. I believe that that's why the flood happened. They were, to a certain extent. People themselves can be corrupted, but it'll never allow the whole image to be corrupted. Don't forget, we're going to get going soon, guys. Seed means sperm. All right. It means DNA. This is straight out of Genesis after the Nakash, the shining one, which we call the serpent, the old dragon. Genesis 3:15. I will put enmity, right, between you and the woman, between your seed and her seed. So right from Genesis, right down to Revelation, there's many themes. There's God preparing a bride for his only begotten son, Christ. There is a DNA war, a seed war that we see here. There's also a seed. Daniel's vision, apocalyptic, lines up right with Revelation. As you saw iron mixed with ceramic clay, they will mingle. Again, what's that word?
They will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not adhere to one another, just as iron does not mix with clay. Seed. That's weird. Who is literally trying to make, look, if they're, whoever they is, they are mingling with the seed of men. So this they, whatever it is, are trying to combine with humans' DNA, human seed. Those they are therefore not human seed. If it was human seed, it'd be the sons of the seed of men were mingling with the seed of men. No, there is a they them. They will mingle with the seed of men. And Revelation says that the mark of the beast, boils will appear. There is a attempt again for something to mingle with the seed of men. And I think that's exactly what the Nephilim did. The angels did it the first time. Nephilim are angel human hybrids. This happened after the flood. There's nothing new under the sun. And again, there is a they in this prophetic end time prophet Daniel. They will mingle with the seed of men. So that's to come. So when people ask me, yeah, Jason, but what if you're wrong? Like, what if you're wrong about this and aliens do exist? Well, you know what? Like, the Bible is answering all of what's about to happen, what has happened. It's proving itself. So if my wife was faithful in every aspect, and then somebody would say, but what if she wasn't unfaithful? It'd be like, oh, everything's possible. I might be in the Matrix right now. I might be plugged into a video game. Yeah, everything's possible, but is it likely? No, it's unlikely. Or even if I am in a Matrix, well, there's feels real, the Matrix to me. So, and there's a book in the Matrix that seems to be a lot more true than anything else. So I have reason to believe, from the preponderance of the evidence, not just one thing, and that it is more likely to be true that something created something than nothing. So there's a preponderance of evidence, a totality that is convincing me. There is all the prophecies coming true, and there is a lot of acknowledgement by atheist academics about the dating of the Gospels. It seems like maybe if the apostles were wrong, well, they weren't being deceptively wrong. They believed it. There's evidence in history that Christians went to their death, not refusing to deny it, not shutting up their mouth about it. Okay? People don't die for a mythology. They die when they're certain of something. Now, they might be certain of it and they might be wrong, but the motivation to die for it is that they believe it to be true. So anyways, I'm going to, I think this is long enough, and I'm going to go see my family. Sorry if I haven't answered any of the questions. Thanks, LA, for all the questions. All I want, and we will have discussions when I have time. Jason Suarez, this is what I wondered about DNA engineered question. Oh, well, you're welcome. Sorry for skipping through. Sorry, LA, if I made assumptions too, just by like kind of assuming things. I will have future discussions with you. We'll have to be very disciplined about it so that we don't jump at like a million different topics. I want to go one question at a time. I think that the questions you have will make great content, and I enjoy talking with you. So love you all. God bless, and see you tomorrow for Daily Bread. See you guys.